I'm sure Nigerians are very, very happy with this development. But what other areas of mutual interest and investments is the delegation from Nigeria focusing on at the summit?
Yes, it's a great question. So I've just touched on just a few items. There are several other investments that make up the $14 billion. But let me also say that aside from the direct financial FDI pledges from these investors, uh, there were also three very important MOUs that were signed, government to government agreements. Essentially, two of them have to do with digital economic transformation. Right now, India boasts of one of the greatest, most developed digital infrastructure footprints of any country in the world, rivaling China and getting up there in competition with the United States. Not just in terms of the quality of their digital infrastructure, but also in terms of the quantity and scope of reach. You're talking about a country that has, a population of well over 1 billion people, right? So they have to do it at scale. We are a country of 200 million people that will eventually be 450 million people over the next 20 years. So we also are looking at how to scale up quality digital infrastructure. So it was only natural under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that the Ministry of Communications, Innovation, and Digital Economy has now signed an MOU with the Indian Ministry of Electronics and Communications and Innovation to essentially share essentially their entire blueprint of digital economic transformation between governments, so that we can adapt their best practices, learn from their failures, and be able to skip steps of development as a result of the learnings from their failures while applying their successes according to the nuances and peculiarities of the Nigerian digital infrastructural ecosystem. So we have two MOUs that deal with that, government to government on digital infrastructure. The third one is very important. The third one is under the Federal Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, which is an MOU signed with with the Indian government's Investment Promotion and Trade Facilitation Agency, known as Invest India. Now, effectively, what that MOU does is it's an MOU between the Infrastructure Corporation of Nigeria and Invest India. But what it does is that it's going to mobilize capital toward very specific and targeted physical infrastructure projects in Nigeria, with combined assets from Indian business people and the Indian government, to be able to invest in critical public infrastructure in Nigeria, which will obviously reduce the burden of expenditure on our own kind of public purse with respect to how we're going to develop our infrastructure. Will allow us to do more quickly, because we're going to be sharing that burden with Invest India and the opportunities that they're going to have. That's physical infrastructure: roads, bridges, airports, seaports, power plants, and the like. But it also deals with digital infrastructure. So we're going to provide a platform for them to be able to mobilize Indian industrialists to be able to further, invest in the digital infrastructure ecosystem within Nigeria. And we happen to be very fortunate that His Excellency, Mr. President, has appointed a Minister of Communications and Digital Economy that is inspiring so much confidence right now as we visited our Indian counterparts, because of his transformative track record in the private sector as somebody who has developed innovation hubs across the African continent. So people are ready to work with Dr. Bosun Tijani under the leadership of President Tinubu, and we're beginning to see a lot of fruit from those engagements. But there, again, I want to emphasize, all that I've described, which is so much, is only the first leg of this trip. We have not even concluded yet. Saturday and Sunday is the actual G20 summit that we're here to participate in. Everything that I've just described are preliminary sideline, initiatives of His Excellency Mr. President, out of his proactive spirit and intention to develop our country quickly through the promotion and attraction of foreign direct investment. But when we get to the G20, what you're going to now have are bilateral meetings between His Excellency Mr. President and his counterparts, such as German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, such as with South Korean President Yeol, such as with Brazilian President Lula da Silva, and they are going to be coming to the G20 with their investors. So we are just getting started in terms of what is on the table for Nigeria to grab. And the reason why this is all happening now in a way that we've not seen before is because this is the first time in our nation's history where we have a bona fide businessman who understands, as both a president and previously as a subnational administrator, what the various levels of our federal system, what the various complexities are and potential encumbrances and roadblocks are for doing business in the country, because he's been a governor and now he's been a president and he's been a businessman. He knows the language of business people. He's speaking it to them, and now they are listening.